In early January, horrific fires drastically changed the landscape of California for years to come. We recognize the brave men and women who put their lives on the line to extinguish these historic flames. We also want to offer our support to the many investigators in California that are facing uncertainty. PI Perspectives has made a donation to the CALI Disaster Relief Fund, and we want to encourage our listeners to do the same. You can learn more by visiting calipi.org. That's CALI-PI.org. Click on the CALI Disaster Relief and Humanitarian Effort Fund button. When tragedy strikes, we need to lift our industry up. A link will be in the show notes. Thank you for your support. This episode is brought to you by 4 Pillars Research, a nationwide leader in policy limit searches, now expanding its services to support private investigators working with injury attorneys. Since 2019, 4 Pillars Research has been known for its professionalism and top-tier customer service. If you're a private investigator, you know how crucial it is to provide accurate and complete information to your clients. Research can be time-consuming and challenging, especially when accuracy is non-negotiable. That's where 4 Pillars Research comes in. Unlike other firms that outsource their work, 4 Pillars handles everything in-house, ensuring you receive precise policy limit details of the at-fault party before litigation even begins. With 4 Pillars, you get more than just data. Each client is paired with a dedicated client engagement specialist, ensuring personalized service and meticulous attention to detail. And for those of you handling multiple cases, they even offer loyalty programs for high-volume clients. So if you're looking to elevate your investigative work and provide your clients with the best possible service, contact 4 Pillars Research today. Let them handle the complex research so you can focus on delivering results. That's 4 Pillar Research, your trusted partner in policy limit research. Reach out now and take your investigative services to the next level. Do you enjoy our podcast and the guests we bring you? Since 2019, Matt and his team have done their very best to give you amazing shows each week. If you feel like our show has helped you to be a better investigator, or maybe even inspired you to become an investigator, please let us know. We're looking for testimonials. Drop Matt an email with a recorded 20 to 30 seconds of you talking about this podcast. You can also email him something verbal about the website. His email is matthews@satellitepi.com. And if you really feel blessed for having this content, consider supporting Matt and our show by joining Investigators Toolbox. You really have to see version 2.0. And at just 49 cents a day, it's a no-brainer. Now let's jump in to this week's episode. Welcome to this week's episode. We start off with a report from our guest, Justin Hodson from Hodson PI. Justin's located in California, and some of his staff have been affected by the fires. At the time of this recording, it was day 4. After the update, the guys turn to 2025 and talk about trends and business growth for the new year. Stick around till the end for some great tips. Please welcome Justin Hodson and your host, New York private investigator, Matt Spaier.
And welcome everyone to the first episode of the year for PI Perspectives. This is Matt Spaier, your host. After a bit of hiatus towards the end of the year, we're back. And I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of kick the year off with somebody who I really admire, who's just had a kick butt year last year. You can't go online and not see this guy all over the place. I want to welcome Justin Hodson back to the program. Justin, how are you?
Good, Matt. Thank you so much. I got your email, and I'm, as always, flattered and love coming on your podcast.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you. And for those of you who don't know who Justin is, Justin's actually in California right now, and it's a little hot and toasty out there. And it's a bit crazy how things have really just picked up the last 2 days. As we're recording this on Friday, January 10th, the fires are still burning. So why don't you give me your lay of the land here, what you're seeing?
Yeah, so right now there's multiple fires. We have the Eaton fire, and then we have the Palisades fire. The Palisades fire is the biggest one. It's at 21,000 acres. So that's about or a little bit bigger than the size of Manhattan. And a lot of celebrities have been affected, a lot of large homes, and what it's basically damaging a lot of economy and infrastructure in that area, but also power outages for multiple days throughout Southern California. People are being affected. Some homes reported as much as 3 days straight with no power.
Yeah. I mean, it's really scary how everything is just here today, gone tomorrow. And as you folks heard before that we even started doing this episode, so CALI, the California Association of Licensed Investigators, has a relief fund, and I'm sure something is in the works here. So if you're an investigator and you're in California and you're not a member of CALI, please go to that website and check it out. And there is assistance available. The one thing I can say about this industry is we lift each other up. When stuff like this happens, people jump in and do amazing things. You don't have to go through it alone. You definitely reach out to the California Association. National Council of Investigative Security Services probably going to do something as well. So if you're a member of that organization, sit tight for it. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of just talk about the end of the year. And I wanted to talk about going forward into this year, and we're going to get into all that. But let's stay on what's going on here in California and how that's going to affect our industry right now, as far as surveillances go, wellness checks, security details for property that remains that was not destroyed. What do you feel is going to be the feeling here, or the opportunities maybe for investigations to be done going forward once the fires are out?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, for some of those small firms that are there in California and they're doing surveillance or they're doing those wellness checks, I think that, this might actually be a good opportunity to partner with executive security. Because right now, as we speak, there's a big looting problem in Palisades. I don't know if you've seen any of the reports, but people are breaking into homes because the homes and people have evacuated. And we're talking high dollar homes, high dollar items. And so there is an opportunity there for people who are trained in security and executive security to help out. And so I do see a trend there. I do see investigators needing to take their time and be safe. We've deployed our safety program here at Hodson PI, where we're making sure that, look, if you don't feel safe, we really shouldn't go there, and also to ensure that you're just that you wear your mask, that you're being safe, because smoke is and ash is the biggest problem right now, especially anybody that has any type of health issues or health problems.
Yeah, and definitely you can see how that would be an issue, and obviously always safety first, and how we're dealing with this, and even just not having power. It's an incredible inconvenience. You can't charge your phone. Gas shortage that's coming next, right? If there's no power for the pumps, there's going to be lines, and there is goodness that comes out of this in people, but there, as you mentioned with looting, there's also criminals who see opportunities to take advantage and really, get there as well they can. So there are opportunities. I think also, FEMA eventually is going to have to come in and survey and I guess look at the remains of properties and things like that. And I'm sure they're going to need boots on the ground. There'll be opportunities for the everyday investigator to get involved and help out on that end for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when Katrina happened, that was a terrible event. And I certainly don't want to compare this to Katrina, but there is a need for boots on the ground. Same with the hurricanes in Florida. Fellow investigator Mike Julian has a big part in some of that executive protection, and I know that he's worked both of those, and it is a good opportunity to get that training, and a lot of us already have that training, and it's a good opportunity to step up and help where it's needed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Mike's a good guy. I'm sure he'll be heavily involved in doing all that and making sure things are heading in the direction that they need to head in. And and it's crazy because you could sit here and forecast of like, okay, this is how my 2025 is going to work out, and here's my plan going forward, and this is how I'm going to grow my business. And all of a sudden, you got to evacuate your home, and everything has changed, right? So you just never know um, when these things are going to happen, and how to be prepared for them. And, it's very crazy.
It is. I think when you get to a certain size in your business, you develop as many plans as you can. You try to prepare for emergencies, but I mean, this event is one of those once in a lifetime type things that you just, there's only so much control that you have, and so. Yeah, it can be scary, but you, as a leader, you need to act accordingly and make sure that you do follow your plans and make sure that your employees are safe and healthy. And look, there's always going to be an opportunity for growth in the future, and a little I shouldn't say little, but we all need to take these hiccups as learning opportunities for the future. And maybe you're not as prepared as you usually are. This is a great opportunity to learn from and be more prepared in your business for events like this.
Sure. Yeah. And
They're gonna happen. They're
yeah,
gonna
yeah. They have their earthquake kits, but they don't have their fire kits, right?
right.
Um, yeah. So, I mean, you make a good point here. And, looking from your standpoint, a larger type business in the industry here, um, having those plans in place, this is something that your HR department would stay on top of, right? Policies and procedures, and making sure that you're following through. So it helps with that transition, that check in from everybody, right? If everybody knows what to do as it's happening, it's a lot easier to keep things together and to pivot, right? Because essentially that's what you have to do in California right now.
Yeah.
This is how I used to make money. This is how we used to do things. That's not available anymore. How am I going to pivot so I can keep the lights on and keep everybody working, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Safety is very important. We have three binders that are probably about this thick that are just for procedures in case of an earthquake, a fire, all these different things that can happen. And so being prepared for your business and your employees is vital.
Yeah. Yeah. We just you never know. You never know. And again, like I was saying, one of the things I really do admire about our industry is how people do come together and help one another out. It's got that mom and pop feel, even though some of us have bigger, um, businesses and things of that nature. It's always encouraging. Just when you think like, our country's down the toilet, or everybody sucks, you see a tragedy like this happen, and people just come together to work and just get it done. I'm reminded of Malibu, or Maui. Actually, the fires in Maui a couple years ago, maybe 2 years now, and how all that worked out too. I feel like it's a similar type situation where there's just complete destruction, but on a bigger scale here, I guess, because there's just more acres that you're dealing with,
Yeah.
but very similar.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And to piggyback on it, it does make you feel good. In such a terrible event, does bring us together as a community. So yeah, I do like that.
I feel like guys like Jay Paulino are going to be out there with the drones flying him around, and just help surveying it in the lay of the land,
Sure. Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to figure things out. Although I know he's a bit further south. I think he's down in San Diego.
Yeah.
But I see like folks that have that technology and that ability to assist will be doing it. I've watched a couple of videos of the planes like coming in to the water and like soaking up the water to go dump it on fires, and that's pretty impressive too, to see that stuff working.
Yeah, Canada actually has brought some of their super scoopers down to assist us. We are really late in the season, and this is very odd to have fires this late in winter. Typically, our fire season is September, October. To have fires this late and in the wintertime is extremely rare. We just happened to have a huge windstorm. A lot of it had to do with the jet stream coming down. A lot of people in the Midwest were affected with the snow and cold weather. Well, we got the other end of it where there's high pressure and this wind, which we call the Santa Ana winds. They blow towards the ocean. And we were getting gusts up to 60, 75 miles per hour. And that is one of the major factors in why this fire spread so fast and got so big.
Yeah, I saw a video of like a McDonald's that was being like pummeled with wind, and it just, you see the tinders just blowing all over the place. And I'm like, oh man, that's not good at all.
And the fire, because it's so hot, actually feeds the wind, creates more of its own weather, and then it's just this big cycle, and it's just really devastating.
Yeah, it's definitely something to keep our eyes on, and you know, as the days continue here, I'm sure more and more will come to light here, and assistance will be on the way, and you know, we'll just try and help people recover as best as we can. So we're going to jump out and take a quick break. And when we come back in, I want to kind of shift gears here and move a little bit forward as far as forecasting for, you know, 2025 and our industry, some of the trends that we're seeing that, you know, can basically go forward and give us an idea of what we can expect. So everybody sit tight and we'll be right back.
After 4 years of development, Scope Now is proud to announce the release of Grid. Grid combines OSINT with real-time physical data to achieve new levels of intelligence gathering. Grid supports over 50 data types and hundreds of thousands of sources. Upgrade your OSINT capabilities with Grid and elevate your intelligence team today at scopenow.com. The Campbell Group has teamed up with PI Perspectives to offer listeners top-notch, affordable insurance solutions. Private investigators can get insurance for their business for as low as $305 per year. Apply now at piperspectivesinsurance.com and receive a quote back within 24 hours. Check out the PI Institute of Education at piinstitute.com. Since 1989, Kelly Riddle has been teaching on subjects such as surveillance, nursing home investigations, insurance fraud, domestic investigations, hidden assets, and accident scene investigations. The PI Institute of Education is a featured learning partner in the investigatorstoolbox.com. So check out the free content on the site, then visit the Institute for more great savings on additional classes. Over the past year, our industry has been the target of foreign governments and agencies that have attempted to recruit unsuspecting investigators to gather intelligence or immediate expatriates. PI Perspectives is teaming up with the Federal Bureau of Investigations to get the word out about this ongoing crisis. If you've been contacted by an individual or company that might seem suspicious, please contact the FBI at tips.fbi.gov. You can also contact the New York field office at 212-384-1000 to report suspicious activity in any state. The link is also in the show notes. Even if you completed a job and it still doesn't sit right with you, you can report this activity. The only way to stop this trend is to work together. So let's do it. Satellite Investigations has launched its new website full of great new content. Matt and his team have released some great informative blogs. Make sure you log in to LinkedIn and follow Satellite Investigations for the latest content.
And welcome back to PI Perspectives. This is Matt Spaier, your host. Very honored to have my friend from California, Justin Hodson here from Hodson PI. Justin, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you, and appreciate you jumping on with all the craziness that's going out there in California. But we're done talking about that. We're going to move on here because I want to really just kind of dig in here about 2025 and our industry and some of the trends and things we're seeing. You're one of the guys that I always see like content floating around on LinkedIn Steve Mace is another guy out of Arizona. You know, I see lots of content coming out. I try and keep up and throw out content here and there, but you guys have a good handle on it. So I thought it'd be a good idea just to kind of get a sense from you. What you're seeing in your part of the industry here, in what Hodson PI does, as fourth quarter ended, what were some of the trends and things that you were noticing, and what do you think is going to carry over into this year?
Sure. You know, we try so hard to predict the future, right? And just we were talking about earlier the fires and the events and the things that are always thrown into the mix. But you know, 2025 is going to be an interesting year. There should be a little bit of retraction in the economy, which always poses a challenge to anybody that's in the business. But as far as technology goes, you know what I'm really seeing, and I think that you jumped on this, is a really a focus on open source intelligence. Social media, of course, has been around for a while, but the focus on what is available and out there that is open and ready to grab is really huge. And there's things that are out there especially in the data marketing areas that a lot of people don't know about: location tracking, made information, cell phone information, that is open and is legal to obtain. And so I think 2025 really is going to be the open source intelligence year. I think there's going to be a lot of focus on that. Of course, the key word 2024 was AI. And I think AI is going to continue to be a big part of 2025, especially when it comes into report writing, right? I think that having investigators, having AI help investigators write reports are going to be huge. I do know, like, for instance, Crosstracks, a case management system, recently got into where they're implementing AI into their system, where they're going to be able to assist people in writing their reports from just simple case notes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty amazing to see how that all has taken off. And yeah, I agree with you that 24 was the year of AI. And it was a solid year of AI where you saw that progression. All right, now that it's here, now that we've all embraced it, you know, how are we using it to, you know, get better at what we're doing, right? So the natural progression here is open source, right? What can we do on our own? What can AI help us do? How do we know how to use all that stuff? How are we using it to our advantage? You know, you talk about report writing and saving time, but also research too. When you're trying to source particular information, having the ability to, you know, have that assistant, you know, help you, the AI assistant to help you go.
Huge data set. So if you have a huge amount of data, having AI filter through that and sort that data for you is going to be just outrageously time saving.
Yeah. And that's what will help the smaller shops, right? If they can embrace that, because it's time is always money, right? When you're a smaller operation, you can't do everything by yourself all the time, right? So you got to, you know, time management is one of the biggest keys to growth, right? If you can manage your time properly, you can take it to the next level. So, you know, having these tools available could potentially be a game changer. So one of the things that you mentioned also, that I want to address a little bit is, you talked about the downturn in the economy, and that's reality, right? So any of us that have been around, and, you know, I've been in business for a couple of years. You've been in business for a couple of years. Like, we've seen it. Yeah, we've seen the ebbs and the flows, and we've seen the terror of, oh wow, okay, no one's going to spend money on any of this. Well, there are certain verticals in our industry that are padded to the economy regardless, right? And one of those is personal injury, right? Even on both sides, right? There's always going to be a need to work those cases up. And what we've seen, the trend, as cases have moved to arbitration, you know, it's kind of shifted a little bit where there's maybe not as much investigative work that gets done. But if you get there early on and you start figuring out how something happened or why it happened, you can make yourself very valuable to your clients. So like one of the things I'm doing with all my firms, I've reached out to them and said, hey, would you find value in me coming in and just doing like a 15-20 minute chat with your office so they understand all the new cool things that investigators can do to increase the value of your cases, right? So I do plaintiff work. So on my side, it's, the attorney gets paid their salary, but they also get a percentage of what they recover, right? So if I'm selling them to the idea of how investigations can increase the value of their case, they're going to walk away with more money, right? So now I've got their attention. So I've intentionally kind of gone forward. My marketing campaign for 2025 is that face-to-face time, right? That, and it could be in a venue that's Zoom or WebEx or something like that. It could be that. I always prefer to be in person, but having that conversation to say, okay, here's how we can increase the value. And it goes back to using AI and using all these tools and these things where you can generate actionable intelligence, right? It's one of the things I'm definitely seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, we do something very similar. We go in and we offer free training to our clients. So we give them an idea of what we're doing, and we train them. We don't train them fully in investigations, but we train them like, hey, this is what we can do. This is what you can do on your own. And I do think that face-to-face training or marketing is valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. So it essentially, with the economy downturn, so theoretically, there'll be less money to spend on these things, right? So maybe there's not as many door knocks. Maybe there's not as many, days of surveillance, right? So maybe it's like, okay, well, originally we were going to budget 50 hours. Let's cut that in half to 25. So how are we going to get the most out of this 25, right? So you start talking about data sets that are out there with cell phones and geolocations and things like that. If you know how to do all that stuff or know somebody who's good at it, you can create value by understanding, okay, it's not a ping because we can't ping, but here's a general idea of where that phone is based upon the apps that are running on that phone, which is all, hey, you check the box that they can do whatever they want with that data. And somebody has figured out a way to identify and locate that particular data set, right? So, being able to understand how that all works and taking advantage will help you cut, as your clients are cutting corners, it's going to make you more valuable because you're going to have a better success rate at what you do.
Well, I think that's one of the key points is making yourself more valuable, going out there and getting additional training, getting additional resources, utilizing that time that maybe you originally would have had an extra day of surveillance, going out there and learning more, attending associations, because you're ultimately making yourself more valuable for 2026 and 2027.
Yeah. Yeah. And the whole networking and increasing your presence and the markets that you're able to handle. That's one of the benefits too of going to these particular events and making the effort to be there. But I think also, understanding that, services that you're offering and how you pivot with that as well. Oh, okay. Well, you've only got 25 hours for surveillance, but why don't we beef up the pre-surveillance investigation?
Yeah.
Because we'll have a better chance of success. Now that you're on a budget with your hours, let's do all that grinding in the beginning to gather as much intel as possible. That's going to set us up for the best case scenario to achieve the goal you're trying to achieve, right? So like a smart entrepreneur is thinking that way. A smart business owner, somebody who's saying, okay, you close that door, let's open this door. And you sell them on the idea of, okay, this is how I'm going to generate a little extra on this particular case, right? We're always looking up, so.
Right. I think it's also a good opportunity for maybe somebody that only does a specific, for instance, they only do surveillance. This is a good opportunity to maybe get some training on social media and being able to say, okay, you don't want to spend $3,000 on surveillance, but maybe they'll want to spend $1,000 on a social media report.
Yeah.
So it's a good opportunity for, again, that versatile training for the investigators that maybe just specialize in surveillance.
Yeah. And, also having an answer to the conversation that you're having with an attorney when they say, well, I just have my staff do it. Like we do our own in-house investigations and we do this and that. So being prepared to have an answer of why that's not a good idea.
Can they testify to it?
Exactly.
Are they capturing the metadata? I mean, of course, you don't want to discount the paralegals' work because God knows that they do most of the work out there. But being able to have those answers ready for that attorney is going to be vital.
Yeah. And I always tell them, like, you want your paralegal doing paralegal work.
Yeah,
That's what
right.
you're paying them for. You're paying them for bills of particulars and getting everything together the way it should be, putting answers in and demands and things of that nature. You don't want them actually doing investigative work, and they're probably not going to be as good of a witness on the stand
Right.
as somebody in our industry that's got a nice pedigree of how to do this stuff and can lay the foundation
Right.
properly. And then the attorney themselves, they can't be a witness to their own case, so it's like you can't do that work because you can't verify it.
Right.
So yeah, just knowing the right approach when you hit that wall there of, hey, I'm trying to cut corners here, I'll just keep it in house, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think in 2025, I think that there's still good opportunities out there. I think that there's still opportunities for solo operators and smaller firms to continue to grow. But there's going to be additional challenges. Anytime that the economy does retract, and we're not talking, I mean, a lot of the economists are looking at maybe 1-2% retraction, but it's going to happen. We've had a great run, right? And economy has been great. But it's going to happen, and it may not happen next month, but it's going to happen soon, where there's going to be some type of retraction. And I think as business owners, right, we're private investigators first, but we're also business owners, we're business people, and we need to be prepared for that downturn by additional training, more marketing, additional boots on the ground, and so that you can survive those changes and maybe even grow in a lower market.
Yeah, and like understanding, making sure that your credit line is funded because you may need it more as you're sitting on invoices a little bit longer than you're used to. So that's reality. I do appreciate a lot of the associations. I saw something in Texas actually where they're talking about sales tax and making sure that you're collecting things the right way and or in accounting, making sure that you're taking all the deductions that you can take. Like, it's good to see that some of these associations are addressing that, because I think a lot of the businesses that start up, they don't get the training in that way. Like, you just kind of fend for yourself. And and I know here in New York, like when I started, I had met investigators that didn't understand that they needed to collect sales tax. It's like,
Yeah.
you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble if you don't register for that. Oh, I didn't know I had to do that. Yes, you got to do that.
Right. Yeah. A good CPA is going to be very helpful to even if you're a one-man shop.
Sure.
It's also going to save you some money. Ultimately, you're paying this CPA, but it's going to save you money because they're going to show you ways that you can save money, apply things to your business, and ultimately either deduct or write off certain things. So I think that that's also going to be crucial, especially if you're in California, because God knows that our taxes, well, too, you're in New York, but our taxes are outrageous. And there's also, California is going after PIs right now for use tax, which are going to be items that you've purchased outside of the state. The state wants to collect that sales tax from outside of the state purchases. That's a big thing that the state of California is going after. So having a good CPA and understanding how the taxes work is ultimately going to save you money and going to make sure that your business is successful.
Oh, it's definitely a need, and just trying to get in front of that. I feel like also a couple of years removed from COVID, right? So we have 2 years, 3 years removed from all that. You've got this set of folks that former law enforcement that around that time said, you know what, I'm done. I'm checking out. I'm retiring. I'm through. And we've seen this big influx of new investigators out there. And that's another thing I really appreciate about CALI. Their N-Light program Like I wish that's such a great model. I wish every state would do that. And there's been some that have tried, but man, like I've participated in a couple of those programs, and it's just really impressive to see leadership donate their time in that way to make sure people are brought up to speed to understand what they need to do
Yeah.
to stay in business. And it's been impressive.
Yeah, no, I agree. The Enlight program is fantastic. Frank Huntington, Francie Kaler, Chris Reynolds, all of them have really taken that program to the next level. Our conference, plug, CALI's conference is in Northern California this year, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to speak to new business owners and helping them develop more of their business and show them how to do marketing and things like that. So
Yeah, no, that's a great conference. I was there 2 years ago now, I guess when it was out there, and that was this topic actually that I was speaking on was how to market to attorneys, and I really enjoy those conversations. One of my favorite things to talk about because when I get into a room, you've got a good mix of folks that are new, and you got a mix of folks that have been around for a while. And I don't ever pretend to be an expert in anything. I like getting in there and just soliciting opinions from folks in the crowd because really that's what it is. It's almost like it should be like a round table, those topics, because there's just so much information that's out there. And I think that was not the last time I spoke, but it was one of the more recent times I've actually spoke that I really like. I got done with that one. I was like, damn, that was good. That was a really good conversation.
no, that's funny that you say that. I'm thinking about just asking questions because I can go up there and I can say, well, this is what I think is important. But maybe that's not important to this one guy that's working out of his garage, or maybe he just wants to know this one question. And so I do feel that back and forth in that round table is valuable.
You got to leave time for that. And like what I did at that particular point was I did half the presentation for people that were in business less than 15 years. And then the other half of the presentation for people that were after more than 15. Cause I wanted to leave something for everybody,
Right.
and just have those convos. And, anytime we think we know everything, there's always somebody that's got a better idea or a better point, a better way you're doing things. Like I'm not like the most successful person in the world, but I've been in business over 20 years, so I'm doing it right. But I have gotten so much good advice from my peers, from people that are like titans in this industry, by just having conversations, going to those conferences and having those types of conversations. And it might even be in a setting where it's an actual teaching. It could just be we're having dinner over there, and it's like, hey, what does your day look like? How did you get to where you are? Like, what are you doing now? And pulling like little bits and pieces from each one of those people and tailoring it into my vertical and how I do things.
I
And
agree
oh my God, so
100%.
great.
I always leave these conferences inspired and have an energy because I talk to my peers and I collect information and I'm like getting new ideas and the thoughts start to spiral. So I agree. I think that anybody that wants to build their business needs to go to these association conferences and talk to their peers.
Yeah, Cali always puts on a good event. And I really like Northern California. Like that the first time I went was I guess 2 years ago, and I was like, oh man, this is so much fun.
Did you go into any of the wineries?
I will not confirm or deny that. There may have been a cancellation at the Camus location that I may or may not have gotten in there. Yeah, it was funny. Like I took a ride up there, figuring like, oh, we'll just buy a bottle and sit on the property and have a nice glass of Camus. And you get there and they're like, yeah, we don't allow you to like you got to buy your bottle and hit the bricks. And we're like, okay, we drove for yeah, whatever. It was a nice drive up, right? But then they're like, oh, we had a cancellation. We can get you in. Oh, perfect. Let's do it. And it was amazing. It was very
It's so beautiful up there, and the weather's great during that time of the year too.
yeah. Yeah, it's all good stuff. All right, so I think I need to call Frank Huntington and have him cut a check because I think we're
Yeah, right.
we're pushing
Sounds
it
like this was a Cali commercial.
a little bit of a sounding commercially. So let's get back on track here before we wrap things up. You talk about different things and trying to forecast, and I think what it comes down to is you and I can sit here and say this is going to happen in 2025, and that's going to happen, and this is going to happen, and when it really comes down to it, we will get back in December and say like none of that happened, or it happened this way, or we didn't see this coming, and you just don't know. But I think what you need to do is getting back to preparing yourself and having a plan in place, like your emergency plan that you talked about earlier. Like that's just smart business planning, right? And just be ready for anything.
Don't want to be caught off guard.
Be ready to pivot, and be the very best at what you do. Be known for that particular specialty in our industry, right? That's you make yourself more valuable, which is another thing we were talking about earlier. Show the value of what you do, right?
Right. Yeah, and step up to the plate. Let people know that you're there to help. And for instance, like these fires here, we're stepping up to the plate. We're donating to CALI. We're donating to the Los Angeles Fire Department Fund. You step up to the plate and you make yourself known as a leader. That ultimately pays back somehow. Makes me feel good. That's why I do it. But ultimately, stepping up to the plate when these things happen, and pivot and change and become a leader, react. Ultimately, you want to be prepared, but you want to react. Don't hide and run away when the problems come and face you. You're a leader. You're leader in your business, and you need to step up to the plate.
Absolutely. So I think we can put a bow on this and kind of wrap it up, and just remind folks just to continue getting better at what you do, right? And what does that mean? That means doing courses online, going to conferences, continue to market yourself to the people who are going to need your services the most, right? Whether that be private citizens, if that's your thing, go for it, go do it. Criminal attorneys, if that's your thing, more power to you. Personal injury attorneys, go where they are. Figure out how to speak to them and make sure your message is clear of what you can do and what you can't do. Don't overpromise on things, and try and be the very best at what you do, right? And be smart. Be smart managing your money, because the economy is going to be tough this year.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. So, all right. This is a great conversation. I'm like sold myself that I'll probably be in California in October.
Oh, cool.
It's a great time.
Let's get a glass of wine.
Can I confirm or deny another trip out to the wineries? Yeah, Justin, thank you, man. Like I love chatting with you. I love your humbleness, man. I love your story. I take a lot of inspiration from what I see from your company. Again, I'm not quite as the size that you are. I've maybe a tenth of what you have going, right?
It's not all roses on this side, Matt. So some of it, you might not want to be this big.
How are your Taco Tuesdays? Are they still going or what?
Yeah, no, we're still doing tacos. Yeah, we're still doing tacos. That's funny.
It's fantastic. So I told you, man, things stick with me.
Yeah, there you go.
But for the listener, I hope you were able to kind of pull some things here, and I hope maybe you got a little inspiration or just a little direction on how to really push forward this year and make it a great year for yourself. I mean, this is why we do this. This is why I do the podcast, just to kind of teach folks where or how to do things and where to go and who to talk to when you need that. So Justin,
I want to add to that, Matt, because the last time I was on your podcast, I got some emails, a couple emails here and there, like, how do I do this? How do I do that? I love those emails. I love the phone calls. I want my email to be out there. I'm open. Maybe somebody's listening right now. Hey, I want to ask Justin a question about this, or how does he do that? I want people to know that I'm available to mentor them. I'm there to help them. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Yeah. So we'll put the email in the show notes, but give folks your email now.
It's Justin, real easy, Justin at HodsonPI.com, HODSONPI.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Justin. I wish you luck with the power situation, the fire situation. Obviously you're dealing with it. You got a plan in place. But for those investigators out in California too, your industry supports you. We're behind you, and do what you got to do to get back to where you need to be. So, thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time on the next episode.
We'll see you later.
Take care.
Thanks for checking out the show. We thank Justin for coming on and being so candid. You have to love his willingness to mentor others in the industry. Please consider making a donation to the CALI Relief Fund. You can find the link in the show notes. We also want to thank Four Pillars Insurance for sponsoring the show. Additional thanks to Campbell Insurance Group, Scope Now, and the PI Institute for Education for sponsoring our podcast. Also, don't forget about investigatorstoolbox.com, where you can type in Perspectives 50 to save $50 when you join up. Please follow Matt at Satellite Investigations on LinkedIn. And if you have a question or a comment about the show, you can email Matt at matthews@satellitepi.com, and you can find him on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm not sure if he's on TikTok, but check and see. We want your feedback to bring you the best shows possible. We'll be back next week with a new show, so make sure you tune in. Happy New Year. Stay safe out there.